This is Ken. We are here with our next experience traveling vlog post. Today, we are going to talk about some cruise considerations. As you may have been following, we very much enjoyed our last cruise, which was the Mediterranean, the Europe adventure, specifically the Mediterranean cruise. We spent 2 weeks in Europe, 11 of those days on the cruise ship itself. So it was really nice, much better than our previous cruise. If you had tuned into some of our specific reviews and recommendations along those lines, but we thought we would take a minute to talk about some cruise considerations. Now, this may seem pretty obvious, but the devil is always in the details when it comes to planning and preparation, especially on a cruise, because there are a lot of moving parts. So we're just going to go over 5 key considerations with that. Some people might put this in a different order, but we're going to start with what is the purpose for the cruise? In other words, why do you want to go on the cruise? Is it a last minute getaway? Is it a planned adventure? Are you seeking relaxation, or do you want to see ports? For instance, when we went to Europe, one of the main goals was for us to stop in as many countries as possible. We got 8 countries in. It's very nice. Now that's a bit of a whirlwind type of deal, but that was one of our goals when we booked that cruise. So we picked the itinerary based on what our goals were. Is it adults only group trip like our Mediterranean cruise was, or is it a family trip? So what is the purpose of the cruise? Maybe have an idea of some itineraries, or in other words, destinations that you want to go to. Like maybe you want to do an Alaskan cruise. Maybe you just want to do a family vacation and you want to do a cruise, and maybe a nice Caribbean itinerary would be very nice and much cheaper. Typically, we'll talk about that in a second, but it just depends. Maybe you want to go to Europe and do Mediterranean. Maybe you want to specifically do a river cruise. So what's your goal for going on the cruise? Okay, so item number 1. Now, some might say we're calling it number 2, but some might say this is 1B, or maybe 1A and 1B can be reversed. But what's your budget? Okay, what's your budget? Cruises can get expensive very quickly. And maybe you change your destination. Maybe you change your destination because it's just not going to work out. Okay. So what's your budget for the cruise? Are you going to maybe take an inside cabin in order to go on the itinerary you really want? Or do you want to have a balcony no matter what? So maybe you need to change your itinerary or change the length of time you're going on the cruise so that you can fit it into your budget. We also highly recommend that you add stuff on at the beginning. A lot of normal cruise lines now, even Royal Caribbean, our cruise line in Europe was Celebrity, and we had the all-inclusive package. We had tips, drinks, Wi-Fi, all included. I know Norwegian is doing that now. As Holland America, you can buy that. So we highly suggest that you add that stuff on in advance as a package. It's definitely cheaper to do that than it is to add it on later. Now, if you are really budget conscious, maybe you let that go and then you just pay a day or two for drinks or extras, but know that that's going to nickel and dime you to death when you get on board the ship. It's much cheaper to buy those incentives up front, promotions when you book. Also, too, maybe you want to do a luxury cruise line that already has, in other words, that is already, quote unquote, an all-inclusive cruise line. Regent, for example, Silver Seas, for example, they have all the stuff included already. Like they don't charge you extra for Wi-Fi. They don't charge you extra for the meals. Everything is included. They also include many excursions at ports too, as well. And of course, the river cruises include all their stops. They have an excursion that's included as part of the itinerary, which is one of the reasons why they are much more expensive. So just pause here for river cruise. I was helping a friend look for river cruises in Europe. April, May 2026 is the specific time they want it to go, specifically on the Rhine River. And a 7-night Rhine River, April, May 2026 is going to cost them $10,000 to $15,000 for one cabin, right? Probably we can probably get air in there for all that kind of all around numbers, $10,000 to $15,000, probably more like 12 to 15, and that's just for a week. That's just for a week stay. So those cruises can get very expensive very quickly. And we looked at many of the big ones, Viking, Uniworld, AMA, Waterways, et cetera, all kind of the same price. So just keep that in mind as well. One pro tip that we have for you when that goes along with being budget friendly is to book your cruise as far in advance as you possibly can. We booked our Mediterranean cruise almost, I forget exactly how long, but pretty close to 2 years out. All right. Prices only go up. And if they happen to go down, be sure you book in your cruise with, with price matches. Like, wherever you booked it in, our vacation clubs, where we book all our cruises, our vacation club allows for price matching. So if the price was to ever drop, they would match the price. And so that wouldn't be an issue. But typically, it's only going to go up. So book it out as far in advance. And with cruises, you can easily book out 2, sometimes 3 years in advance. So just keep that in mind. Bonus pro tip here is you can also book your air inside the cruise line. So all the cruise lines allow you to add air onto there. Now, if you're booking your cruise 2 or 3 years out, you cannot book your air that far out. You can only book air out about a year on most major airlines. So keep that in mind. So you'll have to add that later. But you might want to add your air through the cruise line portal, through the air, the airfare portal that they have in there. Because typically, if you do that, they automatically add on the transfers from the airport to the seaport. Or even if you're doing a stay beforehand or after, they'll even do the transfers from the airport to the hotel and then the hotel to the seaport. They'll add all that in if you book everything in a bundle with the cruise line. So it's much easier to do that, but I will say that it is not always cheaper to do that. I looked a lot at the airfare as it related to our Europe trip, and the airfare booking inside Celebrity was always more expensive, quite a bit more expensive actually than just booking it on our own for the exact same flights. So just keep that in mind. It might be convenient to book it. It might be worth a couple $100 more or however much it is to keep it bundled with the cruise line. They usually extend their guarantees and all of that too with the air. They might even add on some perks like luggage protection, kind of like you see in the travel insurance, luggage protection and all of that too. And the cruise line, if you get your insurance with the cruise line, they'll probably just automatically add in, might be for a fee, but they'll add in the air protection as well to the insurance as well. All right. That said, item 3 is also tied into the budget piece. Is what time of year is best to book your cruise? So let's say you want to do an Alaska cruise. Well, Alaska cruises are only from May to September. So you're going to need to make sure that you are available to go in that particular window. If you're going on a Caribbean cruise, right, those are really great for last minute deals because they go all the time, all year round. You can do different destinations there. Caribbean cruise have so many itineraries and there's so much competition there that those are typically much more budget friendly itineraries than Alaska. And Alaska much more budget friendly than river cruises in Europe. Now Alaska and our Mediterranean cruise, kind of the same price. Actually, the Mediterranean cruise was a little longer because it was 11 days, but price per day about the same thing. So it just depends on what kind of deal you can get. But know what the high and low seasons are. So when we picked our Mediterranean cruise, I looked and see, so we kind of went at the tail end of the summer, right, in September, kind of at the end of their high season, just kind of at the tail end of their high season, although it was very busy everywhere we were, every port we were at, very busy, multiple cruise ships So I think going even a couple of weeks later probably would have been better crowd-wise. But just know that. So for instance, the couple I am assisting on the Rhine River cruise, they specifically want to start in Amsterdam and go one way down to Austria. They want to see castles along the way, and they want to stay in Amsterdam a couple of days beforehand for the tulips. April and early May are the tulip season in Amsterdam and surrounding areas there. So there's a specific reason why they want to go at that time. Now, that makes their cruise more expensive, right? Because lots of people like to go then and see the tulips and do these different itineraries in there. So just know that your budget has gone up because you're going at a very popular time of year. Okay, so keep those things in mind. You also need to do some research on what is the best time of year. Okay, if you're getting a very steep discount on the cruise, there's probably a reason for that. Is it the rainy season? Is it just colder? Is it, what is the deal going on that? All right. What cruise is the best fit? Okay, what cruise line is the best fit? It might be destination specific. Maybe you've had a previous relationship with a cruise line. We had never been on Celebrity before. We basically booked Celebrity because it was such a great rate and we got the all-inclusive package. Plus Celebrity is a little, I guess, luxury or brand-wise is a notch above, say, Royal Caribbean and Carnival and all of that kind of mid-level cruise lines, I guess we would say. So what cruise line is best? Well, let's go back to Alaska. If you want to go on an Alaskan cruise, I guess there could be some argument about this, but typically Princess Cruise Line are like the Alaskan cruise specialist. Okay, maybe Holland America next. All right, so what is it you want to do there? Okay, if you want to go on a river cruise, like most people think Viking for river cruises, which is a very known brand name. Just know that they like their brand and they're usually more expensive. AMA Waterways, much cheaper, just as good, if not better ratings than Viking. So you have to do a little research, like what cruise line is the best fit. And of course, are you wanting an adults only? So for instance, if I was taking my parents who are over 80 on the cruise with me to Alaska, I specifically might want Holland America because they're smaller ships and they kind of cater to the older crowd. Okay, kind of couples, older crowd. Not that there aren't families on there too, but that's kind of what they're known for. I would not take them on a Royal Caribbean cruise. Okay, I would not take them on a Carnival cruise. I might go ahead and book Celebrity again because it was a lot of, there were some kids there, but by and large, it was much more adult oriented, at least on the ship we were on. So that might be okay. So know what it is, know what the cruise lines are known for, know if they're an expert in the area, like who is the cruise line expert for that particular itinerary you want to go. In the Caribbean, doesn't really matter too much probably. But different locations have different kind of different experts, so to speak. All right. What cabin is best? So now we're getting down to specifics. Now we've chosen our destination. We have a budget. We have a particular cruise line that we like that we're just trying to nail down. We've kind of have a time of year that we want to go, maybe. So now you just need to see in your window, right? And of course, your job may dictate when you can go. Maybe you have to go in the summer. Maybe you have to go at the end of the calendar year, before Christmas or whatever the case may be. Just look then in that window to see what the cheapest week is. For instance, Alaska, May is cheaper than June, which is cheaper than July, which is cheaper than August, right? As you might expect, as it warms up in Alaska, the prices go up for the cruise. So if you go in May, excuse me, expect to pay a little less. And then September, the price goes back down as well. Okay. So anyway, what cabin, so now you've picked out all these items, what cabin is best? So sometimes this is a detail. Many people just let the cruise line pick for you. Highly recommend you don't let the cruise line pick for you. You determine where you want to be. So if you think there might be a seasickness issue, you want to be midship, okay? And you want to be lower, right? Lower midship is better for seasickness than being on the higher decks or aft, after stern, which is the back of the ship. All right, so just keep that in mind. And of course, what do you want to do? Do you want a balcony? If I'm cruising Alaska, I'm getting a balcony. I don't want an inside cabin. I need a balcony cruising Alaska. Same thing on the Mediterranean. Like, I need a balcony when I'm cruising the Mediterranean. All right, so just keep that in mind. And then what is your itinerary? So Alaska, the Mediterranean, even not so much the Caribbean, they're more round trips, but have one-way destinations. So if the trip, excuse me again, if the ship is traveling one way, so for us in Europe, in the Mediterranean cruise, it went from Barcelona to Athens. So that meant that the left side or the port side of the ship was typically facing the coastline because of the one way it was traveling. So we wanted our cabins on the port side of the ship, right? And believe me, that was worth it. That was worth it. So some of these details, it's good to think about ahead of time. Don't let the cruise line just pick it for you. And by the way, on a one-way cruise, the port side is not more expensive than the starboard side. Is all the cabins are the same price. Once you get down to that level of detail, right? There's not an upcharge because the cruise is going one way and it's going to be always be facing the nice view of the coast. That's not how that goes. But what do you want? Like, are you willing to take an interior cabin so that you can stay within your budget and go on the itinerary that you want at the time of year you want? So maybe that's a trade-off. Maybe you for sure want a balcony. So maybe you have to change your destination or change the length of time you go on the cruise to make sure that you can afford that balcony one. All right. Another item to consider too is maybe you go for a suite. Maybe there's 4 of you going on there. Maybe get a suite and all 4 of you can share the cost of the suite, which might be cheaper than booking 2 separate rooms. Okay. And suites always come with balconies just as part of the suites. And typically you get extra restaurants and stuff thrown in when you get out to the suite level. So that might be worth considering. Like, lots of things here that's thrown out at you. You can just see the list of the 5 considerations in there. We can extend our vacation club discounts to friends and family. So if you're interested in cruise or you want to talk to us more about planning a cruise and any items that relate to this, feel free to contact us. Otherwise, we will see you in the next blog post.